Here's 2 movies for peace. The main character's name is Justin, because he gave me patience. So, it starts out this kid going to school. It's a little different than everybody else. He has like 2 main friends. He's at school. His friends convince him, you're goody two shoe, whatever. Start smoking pot. That's when they see that he's starting to not give in to fear ruling his life. After that, his friends invite him to a party. And the background on his dad is that his dad used to work for the military, always only came home with like a briefcase, and they lived like on the other side of town from the military base. And so he knew it was really important, seeing as how he could always, just only carry a briefcase and dress in nice suits and shit. So, you work for the military, normally you're in a uniform. And his dad worked with chemicals. So his passion was chemical-induced learning. Now, whatever. John Carter has a nice introduction to that. So his dad worked with chemical-induced learning. So, one day military comes home, and, let's go back to when he was like a little baby. You could tell how much he cared just by like the way he'd put him in and out of the car seat, or just in how he talked to him about every little detail, always seeing an opportunity to teach him. So he military comes up to his house, tells his wife, your husband decided to take one of his own chemicals. He ended up going on a mad rage, trying to kill us. We ended up killing him on accident in trying to defend ourselves. No, he's dead. Basically, they were trying to say he was aggressively committing suicide, but he didn't have the balls to commit suicide. So, I need to put that on. Yeah. 1 sec. Okay, so he grows up fatherless, Justin. And so his friends get him to smoke pot. His mom sees that he's changing, and for years she had kept the chemical because of what her husband told her. Just some shit like, in the future you're gonna need this, the world depends on you. She thought he was crazy. She kept it just in case. So his friends convince him to go to a party, and he's the kind of person where you would just ask him and he'll tell you honestly, yes or no, these are my decisions. So his friends have been trying to convince him to take acid, which is really scary to him because it's chemical-induced mind-altering substance. So they're all, I'm trying to get high, and he's like, I want to learn, I want to see, I don't want to let fear rule my life anymore, and I want to see what this little thing is all about. So he tells his mom he's going to go to a party. She just says, be careful. So they go, and this is like, imagine Texas, but with mountains, like the West Coast kind of mountains, but just random, pretty cool. So he more cliffy too. than the West Coast mountains, but just like imagine Texas, West Coast mountains mixed with cliffs. He goes and he takes acid and he's like, okay, let's see what this is all about. And he's walking around and he could like see other people, like their intentions are just, oh, I wanna fuck some girl, or the girl's running around, looking whatever. I'm sure you can go wildly off on what all those people are trying to do. So he's sitting there like, I want to learn, and he ends up walking out of the rave, but not very far, and he kind of just sits by this, and it's not like he's out of the rave, he's still just a little bonfire kind of thing going on with a couple people in the back, and he walks up to it and sits down, and nobody has to say anything, and then all the people at the same time just look at him, and he's like, what? And they just look up, and he's like, he looks up too, and he starts what he feels is astro projecting, and he ends up going to another world in another, not dimension, but just galaxy, and he very clever. He meets basically like another version of him, but in the aspects of like body figure, stuff like that. Basically an alien. And he's like a little pizza delivery boy. He's not, and that's just pizza delivery boy. And so he sits there and talks to the dude, and they're like, well, let's see if we're tripping, because the alien is just a pizza boy tripping, but it happens to be the same kind of chemical. So he's allowed to absorb, but he doesn't have the full capability of projecting. And that other kid has not the other kid, but Justin has the stuff that allows him to actually project, because it's the more powerful version of the same chemical. And so Justin's like, well, let's figure out if we're real or not. Like, I'm gonna draw a map of where I live, and I'll make a signal, and you come, and if I do this signal, you come, and I'll no. So they start working on it, and he didn't really get to finish drawing his stuff, and they were just talking about it the whole time, and then he ends up coming back into his body, and then he walks from that fire back into the rave, and friends are all passed out. He wakes them up, they go home. At school, after that, he gets assigned a psychologist by the military, who is a tall, or not very tall, I would say like 5'7", but he's bald, has glasses, and has a mole, let's say right there, just because. And he kind of finds that funny, that after he decides to do something like that an action and a reaction, he starts to think about more what he's saying and leading more by example. And the school psychologist keeps going and calling his mom and stuff and saying he's worried about him. So obviously his mom starts worrying about him. So he starts building that little signal, and he starts to notice in conversations with his friends, he's like, hey, where was I during the rave? Like, what was I doing? Yeah. Go to sleep. It's late. So he starts noticing his friends are like, I didn't see you the whole time you were there. Where were you? What were you doing? And he's like, well, where was I? I thought you knew where I was. You said, you're there watching me, like, because it was my first time doing that kind of stuff, and I was just gone. Like, you didn't see me the entire time. And then starts to realize maybe I wasn't there.